offensive side of the ball, Isaac Seumalo's shoulder left the same play as Kenny Pickett against the Cardinals, and then Mason Cole pops up with a neck injury on the team's injury report Monday, the estimated report. Practiced in a limited capacity on Tuesday, did not speak to the media. It was nowhere to be found in the locker room. And I think, usually you don't take anything away from that. A guy like Mason Cole, who talks to the media all the time, like as a center, that is pretty much your job, is to be the primary voice of an offense. To not be in there at all through 2 sessions, maybe a little concerning. Maybe I'm making more of this than it actually is. But in my eyes, I was like, maybe this does mean something. If both of those guys do not go, the Pittsburgh Steelers will be looking at Nate Herbig and rookie Spencer Anderson as their backups. The big question here, obviously, who starts at center, who starts at guard? If you had to pick it, let's just imagine hypothetically both of these guys are out. Who are you putting where against the New England Patriots?
Well, I think it's got to be Herbig at center. I think I'm a huge Spencer Anderson guy. One of my favorites going back to training camp. But I'm not entirely sure it's the best idea to put a rookie out in his first game action, I'm pretty sure, like regular season game action, and put him at center, which is just, every offensive line position is hard. Every offensive line position is going to be especially hard against this Patriots front, which is still pretty good despite some injuries. Yep. Give him less to worry about if you're going to have to put him out there, and I think guard gives him less to worry about than center, where you've got to communicate a lot. You got a lot of different responsibilities in addition to just blocking. So I'd say give Herbig that position right there. Well, Spencer Anderson takes that guard spot would be how I would approach it.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think you could put a 7th-round rookie at center. I think people will, they'll take anything at this point over Mason Cole, unfortunately, but I just don't think Spencer Anderson is the answer. I'm still worried about him replacing Isaac Seumalo because the left side of that line at this point is much worse than the right side of the line for the Pittsburgh Steelers if you remove Isaac from that group. And then you got Nate Herbig at the center. I trust Nate Herbig at center. Like, I think Nate Herbig's played fine. He's not a natural center, but I think he could play there without any issues. Do you think that Mason Cole not starting, do you take anything? Do you listen to the fans at all? Or do you just take, Eddie Faulkner said it yesterday, we're not really worried about Mason Cole rolling snaps back to the quarterback, even if it does cost us in key crucial situations against a 2-10 Arizona Cardinals team. Do you think there's any shot that Mason Cole missing a game could be, the beginning of a change at center for the Steelers?
I'm probably not. Eddie Faulkner saying that is pretty, because the other thing is Mason Cole wasn't rolling snaps back there. He was shooting them over people's heads. Like, it wasn't a.
No, the second one was, both of them were at his feet.
Oh yeah, okay. Oh wait, you're right. But either way, like, bad snap should concern you, and I kind of have in my notes. It's like, okay, yeah, Mason Cole might not play on Thursday. How much does the center's position how much does the center play really take a step back? Even with, like you said, Nick Herbig, who's not a natural center, or even Spencer Anderson in there, like,
yep.
I don't know. It's not just the snaps too. It's Mason Cole, like, blocking his own teammates, like, just completely whiffing on on like certain block. Like, he has not been very good this season. And so I don't know. Like, I think it would take a lot for Nick Herbig for Nate Herbig, excuse me. I always get those guys mixed up. But for him to overtake Mason Cole's center, because quite honestly, if it hadn't happened by this point, why would it happen now?
True.
But yeah, I don't really see this. It would take something pretty significant, I feel like, to force the Steelers' hand to make that switch. And I just don't know if that's going to come, especially this week.
What if they go out there? New England's defense is good. What if they go out there and they rush for 200 yards? Mitch has a good game. There are no sacks, zero. Like, Nate lights it up. Is there any situation? Is there an ideal situation where it does happen? The consideration is at least there. Ricky may be great on sandwiches, but there's a better way to break your bad habits. We're not talking about some weird mind voodoo from your crazy neighbor, like shouting up to the stars and yelling, "Help!" We're talking about our sponsor, Fume, and they look at the problem in a different way. Not everything in a bad habit is wrong. So instead of drastic, uncomfortable change, why not just remove the bad from your habit? Fume is an innovative, award-winning flavored air device that does just that. Instead of electronics, Fume is completely natural. Instead of vapor, Fume uses flavored air. And instead of harmful chemicals, Fume uses all natural, delicious flavors. You get it. Instead of bad, Fume is good. That's a habit you're free to enjoy and makes replacing your bad habit easy. It fills the void in a natural, guilt-free way. Your Fume comes with an adjustable airflow dial and is designed with movable parts and magnets for fidgeting, giving your fingers a lot to do, which is helpful for de-stressing while breaking your habit. I got this thing, and the first thing I noticed was how sharp it looks. This is probably the sharpest looking device I own. And then immediately I start fidgeting with it and realize how awesome that aspect of it is. And then when it comes to the taste, I mean, you can't beat the cool, crisp mint flavor. It's easily my favorite, and I haven't put this thing down since I discovered it. Stopping is something we all put off because it's hard, but switching to Fume is easy, enjoyable, and even fun. Fume has served over 150,000 customers and has thousands of success stories, and there's no reason that can't be you. Join Fume in accelerating humanity's breakup with destructive habits by picking up the Journey Pack today. Head to tryfume.com/allsteelerstalk or scan the QR code and use code allsteelerstalk to get 10% off when you get the Journey Pack today. The Fume Solano launched last November, and you can upgrade your Journey Pack to the Solano to enjoy the premium walnut barrel and onyx black coated mouthpiece that has a smoother finish and still get 10% off. That's tryfum.com and use our code AllSteelersTalk to save an additional 10% off your order today.
Yeah, sure. I mean, if they completely dominate this game offensively, I think that's some good evidence to say, well, hey, maybe you should think about this, but it's got to be a specific kind of dominance. Like you said, like it's got to be running for, 150 or more yards. It's got to be no sacks. It's got to be, when you turn on the film, you got to be able to see that Nick is doing his job every time, and he's being real solid, that it's not, that you got to be able to isolate him in that scenario and say, okay, he's been kind of a linchpin for this. It's got to be pretty clear there, or else I feel like they're just going to stick with the guy that they know and that they clearly like.
Yeah, I want to say I agree. I think I do agree. I think at this point, I think the outcome of this game determines a lot, but I also think that this could set up, it doesn't have to be an instant change. And I'm a big Mason Cole person guy. I think he's a super cool dude.
Yeah.
I wish he was better at the position because I actually enjoy him as a person. I think that if the Steelers don't have, if Isaac starts, that's the biggest thing here. Because if Spencer Anderson starts, I expect some hiccups. I don't expect this to be a smooth game whatsoever. But if Isaac starts, Mason does not. Nate Herbig has himself a day. The offensive line looks real good. There are no issues at center. You go into next week, Mason returns to the starting lineup and there are issues again. I think that's when the conversation starts within the organization, because at that point you're looking at it and you go, all right, well, we have a body of work for Nate against a good defensive line, and he looked a lot better than Mason did. I think it could jumpstart a conversation. How serious that conversation is, I think, depends on how bad Mason is once he returns. But to this point, man, I don't know what Eddie Faulkner's watching. I don't know what Mike Tomlin's watching. I understand that the continuity is a real thing, but it just feels like Mason was like the last. It feels like Mason was the last piece of the last offensive line that needed to go. Like with the Kevin Dotsons, the Kendrick Greens, the Chooks Okorafor. Like it was just, this is the last piece of, let's just make a change. Let's get this over with. Let's start. Let's finalize an offensive line moving forward and for next season. I think Mason's that last guy. We'll see. Big news. Mason's a guy, I don't know. Like, I'm not super concerned that he's going to miss this game, but there's a part of me that kind of I don't want to say I hope he does, but there's a part of me that's interested to see what Nate Herbig could do as a center for the Steelers.